Hello everyone, good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this video. So this is my first official car review, and to start things off, I have a 2019 GMC Terrain in what I think is a beautiful red quartz. And this was redesigned for the 2018 model year and is continuing into now, which would be the 2020 model year. So I'm going to go over things such as the technical aspects, the highs, the lows, downfalls, features that it has, and just kind of give like my opinion, criticize it a little bit. And so yeah, we'll look at things such as the exterior. We'll go over a little bit in the engine compartment, and then also the interior. So this model that I have right here as a rental is the mid-level model. It is the SLT with the SLE being the lowest trim and the Denali being the highest. It does have some pretty good standard equipment, some features over the SLE. It is missing some of the optional equipment, which we will go over once we kind of get into the inside of the vehicle. But as you can see here, it is sitting on some 18-inch rims with some Hankook tires on the outside. I think these rims look pretty nice, to be honest. And then, as you can see, it's got the plastic cladding down at the bottom. I'm sure to help if you do take this front-wheel drive bias vehicle off-roading. It'll help with rocks and chips and such. Yeah, it is front-wheel drive bias. It is an all-wheel drive system. Standard is front-wheel drive, and the engine that comes in this is a 1.5 liter Ecotec, which puts out 170 horsepower and 200 and I believe 5 foot-pounds of torque, rated at I believe 26 in the city and 30 on the highway, which is pretty impressive for a small size SUV. It is mated to a 9-speed automatic. So as you can see under the hood here, yes, we have the Ecotec 1.5 liter, as I said, puts out 170 horsepower, 205 foot-pounds of torque. It's actually pretty compact inside here. There is not much room for a bigger engine, but it does come with a slightly bigger engine. If you do opt for the Denali, you can get a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, which puts out 252 horsepower, I believe. And for most people, this will be sufficient for everyday commute. It gets great gas mileage. If horsepower and acceleration is not really your thing, which for a lot of people in crossovers, you're not getting it for acceleration, but sometimes it is nice to have that little extra horsepower to get you out of those tough situations. Something else to notice before we move on to the inside of the vehicle is it does have a pretty nice setup of headlights, with the daytime running lights, LEDs going around the outside. It's kind of a standard now in the car industry, but it still looks nice, and a little attention to detail. These are a little dirty, but seeing like the GMC on the inside of there, and then as you can see for the actual headlight is a HID, high intensity discharge bulb. Looks like they opt out from putting, which would be newer technology, an LED headlight, but still nice. And then yeah, this with the SLT has the lower HID fog light as well. And then as you can see here with this little button, it does have the easy entry on all 4 doors. So all you have to do is you don't even have to pull your key out of your pocket. You just click it, lock, unlock. You push it twice and it unlocks all doors. Push it one more time, then lock. To the interior of the Terrain. Starting off with, well, what's right in front of my face, the seat controls. So, you know, it's got basically any movement that someone would need for this vehicle. Forward, back, you know, up, down, move the backrest, forward, back, and move the middle of the back out and in. The one thing it is lacking is the lateral bolsters do not move in and out. But for a vehicle like this, it's not like you're going to be doing much of windy roads or anything of that nature where you need a tight grip. You're not being much help there, co-host. All right, let's shut the door here. It's got that triple door seal, which sounds pretty nice when you close the door. Pretty solid. So I guess we can start with materials. So looking at the dashboard here, it is a soft touch, but this is not real leather. This is a stamped pleather, and so this is not like a real kind of stitch work, but it looks nice. You know, there's got to be a little bit of cost cutting. I mean, this is a mid-level GMC. This isn't, you know, Cadillac or something even more expensive from a different brand. Yeah, looking at this is felt headliner, which you kind of expect in any vehicle, and then moving to this A-pillar here. It is plastic. They do try to mimic the same design as the felt on the roof liner, but yeah, it is plastic. And then, yeah, looking at the door here, you know, your armrest, it's a soft touch, you know, leatherette type material. This one actually feels like it is real stitched. And yeah, some of the materials in here are pretty nice. Like this seems like it's a real aluminum around the radio and steering wheel. This, though, I'm not really sure if this is supposed to be some wood trim, wood grain, but it is just plastic. And then, yeah, it's soft touch up here. And as you get down lower, it just gets to be more plasticky in the vehicle. But like I said, you know, not like a high-class vehicle, so you're going to expect, you know, having some cost-cutting materials around the vehicle. So starting this vehicle, it is a push to start vehicle. So all you gotta do is put your foot on the brake, press the button, and fire the engine right up. So I guess moving on to a spot that you will be looking quite often, which would be right in front of you, hopefully. Not down at your phone or over at the infotainment screen, but looking at the first, you can see here that you got all your cruise control buttons right here. Turn on, off, resume, you know, if you want to add speed, subtract speed. And then this does have the adaptive cruise control, so you can adjust the gap with this button right here. And it does have a heated steering wheel, which is nice, especially if you live in the northern climate, where right now, where I am, it's, you know, 30 degrees out. And it's only going to get colder, unfortunately, but anyways. And then, yeah, move over to this side, and you can kind of just scroll through the different menu options on this little LCD display, from your music to information. There's a home page, there's like the turn-by-turn navigation, your phone, etc. On the back side, there is volume controls on this side, and then on the opposing side, there is a seat control. This car does have a collision warning, so if a vehicle abruptly stops in front of you, it will automatically start to brake if you get close enough, or it will start to flash here. It starts to flash like a red warning, and it will also vibrate each of the sides here, which it also vibrates the sides here if you start to merge over when there's a car in. Yes, this does have blind spot monitoring, cross traffic alert. It will start to vibrate whichever side you are moving over to, and you know, don't have your blinker on, or the vehicle thinks that there is a plausible accident that will occur. Moving to the infotainment screen, it's pretty intuitive. It's very easy to use. It does have Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all that good stuff that you kind of expect from a, a brand new vehicle of this era. Doesn't have navigation built into the vehicle, but maps through Apple CarPlay or, maps through Android Auto, which I don't have, is, quite simple to use. So this one does not have the optional Bose sound system. It is an option on the SLT and is standard on the Denali trim. This just has the standard 6-speaker sound system, and overall the stereo imaging is pretty good. It's got good highs. Where it does kind of lack is the lower end. Even though it does, I know GM has switched over to 6x9s in the front doors. They just really, even when you do have the bass turned up, it doesn't distort. It just really isn't that much there. And to someone that's not really an audiophile or doesn't really care that much, it's not going to be that big of a deal, and they don't need to opt for, I'm sure it's $1,000 option, the Bose sound system, or probably some part of some technology package. But yeah, for a normal person, not that big of a deal. And then also kind of adding to the infotainment is you can see here we got a USB port right in the front here, standard USB, and then we do have a USB Type-C and a 3.5-inch auxiliary input. And then there is the old school 12 volts car plug-in, which not many people use anymore. Definitely not going to call it a cigarette lighter anymore, that's for sure. There is a few more USB plugins here in the center console, so totaling at 4. And then there is 2 more back here. So you are fully equipped with USB plugins. You will never fall short. And there is even a 120 volt outlet plug-in down below here. You can't ask for much more as far as charging capabilities. I mean, heck, you can plug a toaster in here and make some toast on your way to work. So moving on down the center stack here, next would be the climate controls. As you can see, very easy to operate. So you got a good clear display both on the screen and down below of what your temperature is. You can set it to auto, which will change which vents it comes out of and how fast the fan speed is to bring the climate to that particular temperature. And then moving on down even further, this took me a minute to get used to. It's got little levers that you pull to change instead of an actual gear shifter. You got a button for park, and then you put it in drive. This is a low range setting here. And then speaking of which, we move on down here. Not really sure who's going to be taking a 170 horsepower vehicle off-roading, but to each their own. And if you decide to do so, there is an off-roading mode. And there we go, off-road mode on. Woo. And then you got your heated seat controls. You can either heat just your back or your back and your bottom. And then as we just keep moving on back, as you saw earlier when I showed the USB, decent size storage compartment here in the center console. Got a nice little LED light. Store, smaller items up here, and then it's, quite deep down there. So, and then also speaking of storage, it's got a dampen glove box, so it doesn't just, plop down and just wreak havoc. It is not felted. It is just hard plastic, and it is not lit, but I mean, it's a glove box. Not like it's that big of a deal. I've seen $90-some thousand Escalades without a light in it. So one small thing I kind of forgot to mention here in the front of the interior is the LED accent lighting that it does have. I tried turning all the lights off in the garage to show it, and it just kind of was a fail because they just aren't bright enough. They are very dim, but it's a nice little touch. It has one here in the nice little front cubby here where you can easily fit a Samsung Note or an iPhone 11, a Samsung Galaxy, etc. And then it also does have one that illuminates right above the door handle there, and then in the little pocket here on the side, as well as the little map storage here in the center console lights up. So I mean, it's a nice little feature. It's not like you can't change the color or anything. It's just kind of that GMC blue that everything else is lit up in, but it's a nice little touch. So as far as seating position, I am 5'9", so I can fit in basically any vehicle, no problem, and find a seating position. Center console, I can rest my arm perfectly fine. I have the steering wheel telescoped all the way out. That's just the way I like it personally. And I can put my arm on the center armrest here just fine, and I can hold the steering wheel just perfectly fine. And if the door is closed, I could easily have it there on the armrest on the side. Use all the steering wheel controls, don't even have to move my hand at all for hours on end if I didn't want to. So next we'll kind of move on to the back and show like the leg room, headroom. As you can see up here, I've got more than enough. We'll move to the back and kind of see if that's the same situation back there. Alright, so sitting in the back of the GMC Terrain, as you can see, I have plenty of leg room. Even if I was 6 feet tall, I would still, as a 5'9" civilian back here, I would be able to sit just fine. Plenty of headroom. This one does not have the sunroof, so I would imagine it would sit a little lower here in the back if it did. Maybe not, but yeah, regardless, there's plenty of headroom back here. And storage compartments back here. You don't have a third zone climate system. It's just dependent on whatever the front occupants decide to set it to. But you do have little vents that you can adjust back here, so that is nice. Looking at the door here, they definitely cheaped out on a little bit of the material. Up front, it was soft touch, like in some of these areas where, back here, it's just hard plastic. They did do it here on like the armrest area, but yeah, besides that, the rest of the door is just all plastic, which, not that big of a deal, because if, you're someone hauling kids around, you probably want a hard plastic anyway, so it doesn't, get marked up quite as easily as something like if it was leather wrapped. So it does have a nice tilt to the seat here. I don't know how adjustable it is, or if that's just the standard. That's just standard. So yeah, you get a nice little tilt. I could spend a couple hours back here, yeah, for sure. Especially just hanging out on your iPhone or sit and have a conversation. It's a nice place to be. I didn't notice this until I was just moving to the back to show you guys the trunk storage, but they have finally done it. They have gotten to where they do not use a fuel cap anymore. So moving around to the back side here, it is an electronic tailgate. It's not like some of GM's bigger vehicles where you can sit and try to wave your foot for 5 minutes to get it to open, but it is electronic, so that is nice. As you can tell, there is a decent amount of storage, and you can very easily fold the back row seats down to create even more room if you are gonna haul some lumber in your big bad Terrain. This car does, I saw, have a 1,500 pound towing capacity, which probably makes sense on why there is not even a trailer hitch on it. You would have to get that installed, but yeah, I kind of shook my head a little bit when I saw that, but what else would I expect with a 170 horsepower motor? Yeah, as far as that, there's not really too much more to go over. As you can see, it does have a backup camera, which I believe is mandated now by law as of last year or the year before. Let's see what this 170 horsepower 1.5 liter can do, right? Boy. She's just pulling hard. And we're on the interstate. driving the 2019 GMC Terrain. I gotta say, overall, it is a very comfortable ride. Seating position, cushioning in the seat, everything. It feels overall pretty nice, at least for my body build. And yeah, steering wheel feels nice. One thing I noticed also, when you're going over any sort of bumps or rough terrain, you don't hear any rattles. It rides relatively smooth over it. And here now I'm turning onto the interstate. I have already driven this on the interstate a little bit, and it is a very quiet ride. They did a very good job insulating this vehicle from the door seals to the window seals, and also like the felt on the underbody and in the wheel wells and stuff just help with road noise as well. And yeah, now I'm here. I'm up to 60 some miles an hour now, and almost dead quiet. It's actually quite enjoyable. And with that adaptive cruise control, which is an option, it is definitely nice because it will adjust to the car in front of you, which is very nice on if you're on like a two-lane highway, and you're not able to pass all the time, so you have to sit and either adjust your cruise control or constantly be braking or accelerating. It's just a nice feature to have. It's kind of funny. I mean, this vehicle is dang near brand new. I actually just broke 1,000 miles on it. This thing is quieter than my 2013 BMW 3 Series, and that obviously has a lower drag coefficient than something like this, and you'd think would sound a little quieter on the interstate. That has a lot of underbody shielding and insulation and stuff, but it's mostly the windows that I noticed it in the BMW. They just don't seem like they seal quite as good. Yeah, this is just a phenomenal ride, and I mean, being that it can get up to what they have it rated at 30 miles per gallon, that's pretty impressive for an SUV. Given it is a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder with a 9-speed, and it is overall relatively light SUV or crossover. It weighs about 3,700 pounds. So there's some cars like that weigh more than that, like a Chrysler 300 or a CTSV that's about the same weight as something like this. So yeah, I would take this on a road trip. It's a nice vehicle. It's a good vehicle, and yeah, it's got the automatic high beam. So if you're driving at night, it'll automatically turn them off if it sees a car coming. Jeez, that guy almost just completely destroyed his clutch. It'll turn them off if it noticed with the camera that there is a car approaching. So that is nice. Or if you're coming up on a car. Say hi, Oakley. So I just took it north of town on the interstate, going into about 20 mile an hour headwind, and this is where the drag coefficient really plays in. It averaged just around 20 miles per gallon, so yeah, not quite the 30. That is also highway. Interstate, you're gonna get a little less because you're going faster, more resistance, and you're gonna be at a higher RPM, etc. So, and also taking it north of town, there is a little bit change in the percentage of grade with the hills, but we'll take it south and head with the wind, and we'll reset the average fuel economy and see what we got. It was a 6 mile distance that I took it and averaged just around a little over 20 miles per gallon. So we'll see what it does going with the wind. All right, so yeah, definitely a better result. So I got upper 28, 29 over a course of a little over 4 miles on the interstate going with the 19 mile an hour wind. And so yeah, it just shows that that drag coefficient's really a killer when there's wind involved. So I would probably expect mid, maybe a little upper 20s on a road trip taking this. So taking this on like a cloverleaf, off ramp, I took it at about 40 miles an hour, and it actually rode like it was on rails. I was actually pretty impressed with the handling. It must have some good sway bars in it, because it's still got a pretty soft ride, but it corners overall pretty nicely. I'm impressed for something having a higher center of gravity like this. It's not a heavy vehicle, but just it's sitting at the height it does. I was overall impressed with it. So, conclusion: it's a pretty good vehicle. Starting in the upper 20s for an SLE. You can obviously add a bunch of different options or step up trim levels and get yourself up to, I believe the Denali starts at around 40-ish thousand. So, just depending on your needs, wants, if you're to get this vehicle, just, kind of weigh out, do I really need this option? Or maybe if you're someone that doesn't go on road trips, frequently, you probably don't need to add like the adaptive cruise. But if you are someone that travels a lot for work, for example, or takes a lot of road trips, then you might want to add the adaptive cruise. Or maybe you don't, listen to music that often. You probably don't need to add the $1,000 package for the optional entertainment package, which comes with like the navigation and the Bose sound system. I mean, you really don't need the navigation upgrade because you can use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So yeah, that's a conclusion for you.